know you gotta have it, cause hieroglyphics is a habit, forming frequently with fanatics. Can't be calculated with simple mathematics. The worth is hovering over the surface.
Folks, how y'all doing today?
All right.
Man, now, we got one of the most legendary crews in the building, known all around the world. I've been in places like Beirut, and they know people like Dell and other people. And when I tell them I know Hiero, they're much more enthusiastic than you all were. So you all here for a free concert at Stern Grove with a group known all around the world. So we'll start again. Hiero's in the building. How y'all feeling? All right. Plus, you know, it looks like we got like 90% of the crew, and that's hard to do, you know, so that's even an achievement in itself. I want to open it up a little differently by just maybe having everybody go down the line and introduce yourself, but I'm gonna, you know, let's get some formalities out the way. As you introduce yourself, let the audience know either your absolute favorite, like if you only had one song to do, this would be the song you would do as a member of Hiero, or your favorite Hiero memory that really makes it worth being in this crew for 20 plus years. So we'll start off with you at the end, Tajay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh.
Was that too hard of a question?
No. Ooh.
It's not the talk.
My favorite song to perform, you're saying?
Or just in general, like this is your Hiero song. All these people going.
Wow. I guess it'd have to be You Never Knew, because it's kind of emblematic, and we filmed the video in Hawaii, and we were jumping off cliffs and stuff like that. So it just reminds me of good times.
And that is Tajay. Okay, go ahead.
It's DJ Torre. Favorite song, that's a hard one. I can say memory. I was just thinking about when we went to Japan, and we were real young, so that was like a real great memory. Us being in Japan, letting them see the art form of what we bring, even at the early stages of our career.
So this is 20-something years ago.
Exactly.
When you were 12. Next up.
Hey everybody, I'm A+, Hieroglyphics. What's up, Davey? My favorite song to perform would probably be 93 Till Infinity. Yeah, I just really like that song a lot. I made the music for that song, but that's not the only reason I like it. I just had to throw that in there, just, you know. But yeah, it reminds me of the time when, you know, we were fresh out of high school and we had been dreaming to one day be rap stars, is what we called it back then. And it was something that didn't really happen to a lot of people in our community and even where we live. So it just reminds me of that time. So yeah, 93 Till.
All right.
About to pass it like we on stage.
My name is Domino. My favorite song, I'm gonna go a little bit more obscure. I was just saying this to the cats, is a song called That's How It Is Part 2, which is a B-side to That's How It Is. And Casual and A+, slay it, you know, real lyricism. And DJ Torre made the beat, and it's just one of those ones that I listen to all the time still now.
How you guys doing? My name is Festo. Favorite song, I probably have to say Make Your Mind Up. That's one of my favorite songs. Souls of Mischief songs, ironically the one that I'm not on. Because I like listening to these guys more than I like listening to myself. But favorite memory is us going to Hawaii to film the You Never Knew video. That was it's Hawaii. I mean, it's like,
what's up, everybody? My name is Jonathan, professionally known as Casual. I would say one of my best memories would come from us in Brazil. A few things happened when we were out in Brazil. It was kind of crazy. One of the first, and it actually kind of happened when I was riding with my daughter the other day too. We got off the airplane, rode for about 15 minutes, we were observing the graffiti, and I hear somebody in the van like, ah, look. And we trying to catch it before we see it, and there was a fat Hiero sign on the side of the freeway. So it was like, dang. dang, we fly all this way, get off the airplane to see our logo. And another thing like that.
Was it graffiti?
Yeah, it was graffiti.
Oh, okay. Did they blame you for it? Did they
No, they definitely didn't blame us for it, but it was part of the culture as it assumed, because the whole building was just covered with art, I would say.
If you've ever been to Sao Paulo, graffiti is everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah. And so another thing that happened when we were out there, I guess it was a cultural experience, leaving the show. After the show, the fans surrounded the van and they was banging on the van like, I thought we were in danger. You know what I'm saying? They was like, blah, 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 slapping on the van. But then I realized, oh, like, that's how they salute you, like you did a good show. So those are good memories.
Okay, yeah, I'm Del, the Funky Homo Sapien. I can't think of a favorite song. I'll give you a memory, though. I used to like going over to Cash House, you know, and make stuff, you feel me? Because, I don't know, he had his own room, you know what I mean? It damn near was like his own apartment, damn near. You know what I mean? Because it was downstairs away from everything else in the house. So you could go in through the back, you know what I mean? So it was just fun going over there. And he had like all kind of like recording equipment and stuff. I guess maybe a Pops had like stuff like 4-track and stuff. So he was the only other person I really knew that had some stuff like that early on. So I don't know, it's just fun going over there messing with him.
Okay. You know, one of the things that I think is understated about you guys is your technological proficiency. And I think when we say hip hop, we don't think of folks who are cutting edge in terms of technology. We think Silicon Valley, and we don't see these guys in the mix. Even though if you really look at their history, you'll find that they were probably on the web before most people even knew what an internet was. And so with that being said, you know, either as artists or as producers, can you talk about how you've been able to maintain being on the cutting edge and what you have seen what does it really mean to be technologically proficient in this profession? Maybe I'll start off with you, Del. You know, I ran into Del at a store one day, and he was like, I'm taking music theory, and he was, you know, I mean, like really taking like stuff that most of us would be like, really? And then applying it, you know, to his craft. Next thing you know, he was being nominated for a Grammy with, you know, with that expertise. So can you all talk a little bit about that, or just a few of you all talk about just staying on top of the tech game? You do.
Well, really, I was just interested in it, you know. So that interest just led me to whatever was going to be the new wave, or whatever was really, how am I going to get this task done in a more efficient way? You know what I mean, or a more direct way, easier, you know. So it would just lead naturally to whatever technology was coming up. And maybe I might be on it, what do you call it, early adapters, you know what I mean? Like people that, you know, that they're gonna get on it early. Not everybody's not gonna rush to it at first. It might take 10 years or whatever. So I'd be one of those type of people. And then by the time it catch up, for example, Ableton Live, right? I've been using Ableton Live since like Ableton, the second one. It's like on 9 now, and now it's like ubiquitous almost. You feel me? But like back then, nobody knew about it at all.
Right.
So I've been going with it through the changes and stuff. But by the time it got to now, to where it's like, you know, household name, you could say.
Right.
I'm already knowing how to freak it, flip it up and down. You know what I'm saying? So it's more like that for me. I like to be able to do what I need to do the best way, the most direct way possible, because as time progresses, it's more demands.
Right.
Like,
let me ask you this. You know, what's on the cutting edge, if we can pick your brain?
For
you.
Oh man, what's on the cutting edge? I'll say with rhyming, people are really more creative now, as far as rhyming and figures of speech is concerned. So that's where a lot of my focus has been at.
Okay.
Writing.
Well, let me put that to any of the MCs here, maybe Casual or Tajay. When y'all came out with your style, it was kind of cutting edge for a lot of folks, you know. And some people have said that the rhyme game has regressed. Other people said it's just a new rhythm, a new flavor. How do you all see it, and what new flows are you all coming up with? Or do you come up with new flows in 2016?
That's the whole goal of rapping for us, is not rapping like the old us. Really, honestly, and I don't want to sound super egocentric or stuff, but when Hieroglyphics drops records, we bless the rap game with styles that they run with for like 5-10 years. You know, there would be no Eminem, there would be no Kanye, there would be no Pharrell, there would be no Outkast without Hyro flows. And if you listen to their seminal works, you'll know that but they give it up. It's not something where they don't show respect and love. But I think that the average rap fan who probably only hears the last word of each person's rhyme and doesn't really look beyond and look at the structures may not get that. But that being said, we're always trying to better what we did before. I mean, we were just having this conversation last week, like, I'm about to kill dude, but we were talking about ourselves, you know what I'm saying? Like I say the one group that would be out there in that mode is probably De La Soul, who are probably, to me, most advanced as far as, or maybe Freestyle Fellowship too, like a Micah 9 or AC Alone, where they're trying to beat, their only competition is themselves. So if you're trying to beat yourself each time, you're not going to come with the same flows. And I mean, we revisit flows and all that kind of stuff, but it's almost fun. Like, remember this one? And, you know, bust that for about
let me
4 or
ask you
5
this.
bars.
You know, because I brought it in and framed it as a technological advance, do you all have like a way in which you all, I'll use the word scientifically, do interplay with each other? Because, you know, back in the days, it would have been more natural. But nowadays, you know a lot. You have music theory. You understand. So is there like, you know what, we're going to punch it this way. We're going to approach it this way. Is there a methodology but behind how you all are flowing now?
Oh, definitely. There's always been a methodology behind how we flow. I guess as we've gotten a little bit older, we started to observe it and take note of it and notice some of the things that we've done in the past that some might have just seen as raw talent in our earlier times. For instance, I did a song on one of my albums, it's called Smash Rockwell, called Styles, where I was basically going over a lot of the styles we've done throughout our career, and other rappers and anyone. It's all mathematical, really. You think you got certain 4 beats in the bar and you can only place rhymes in certain places. I just started to point out how we can come from being very simple to like spitting these long multisyllabic lyrics, you know what I'm saying? And so this was like me just looking over what we've been doing in our career earlier and taking note of it and writing it into a song, I guess, you know what I'm saying? But you were speaking on technology, and I had a thought a little bit. We always wanted to stay on the cutting edge of technology just from the jump street. You were right. We were on the internet selling music possibly before Napster and iTunes.
Way before Napster.
But it was just like a little, maybe 6 months before then, but they had a different mindset, and I think it was one we probably should have took advantage of at the time. They were thinking about selling everyone's music, and we was just thinking about selling our own music. And you see how we wound up in different places. But at the same, it still helped us out. We got awards back in the day for being early on the internet. And so, but think about MCs, like one of the first pieces of technology we might have used to, besides video games, how it helps your mindset. I think it would be like electric thesauruses back in the day or whatever, where you're like, oh, I can finally type the word in and get it real quick. And it's grown as technology has grown, and I don't know how many MCs use the information superhighway to help their lyrics, but you know they have, because you do research in battle raps. You do all this stuff. You exploit people's social networks and be like, oh, I'm about to get him. And so technology and hip hop has always really been like hand in hand.
Right. Fess, you want to jump in on that?
Well, he just made me think about how you should be, how the MCs today should be killing us back in the day, really, because I mean, I'm walking around with this all the time. This is I can't even describe that. That's like having everything you need to know to be an MC right now. Do I need to know any type of poetic techniques, or what is alliteration? What things I didn't even know when I was first writing rhymes? What is music theory? You went to music. Music theory is right here. I mean, everything you need to know about being an MC. Who is Big Daddy Kane? Who is Rakim? But who is anything I need to know is right here. So like, MCs nowadays should be like on some alien superhuman raps right now, really.
But the difference is, and you saw that with Tajay, you see it with Kaz, you see it with you all. If y'all have that drive. Like y'all are hungry. Like if I got up here and say, you know, Tajay sucks as an MC, you could see him like, word? like, like we're about to smash. So you still have that competitiveness that I think somehow gets missed, you know, if you don't have that background in understanding that this is still a sport in many ways. Go ahead, and I want to get to Domino and them as well. Go ahead.
Also, I think like inside, you just gotta love it. You know what I mean? Like if you just doing it for other reasons, you're not gonna have that drive. You gotta have some kind of self-motivation, something about it that makes you want to do it. Cause can't nobody push you to do it. You know, so you could have this in your hand, but who cares if you don't care about it? You're not gonna use it.
Right. Domino and Torre and A, y'all produce. You know, among other things. How have you stayed on top of the production game, and how do you see that evolving? And you know, you could give us some secrets that y'all are working on. Just be between us.
I mean,
we ain't gonna tell nobody.
I always got inspired by listening to other music, not necessarily hip hop, and so that's always been kind of my beginning point as far as every once in a while to be something where you hear like some type of weird rhythm in the world somewhere, whether it's like the way that something's hitting up against a windowsill or something. But generally, it's just I get inspired by just music in general, and that's usually kind of where I start. I mean, there's a lot of different, like I still use a lot of the old equipment that I've used before, like MPCs, which is more analog. I have a machine. I have a lot of different things, but to me it's more about just whatever allows my ideas to flow the best. I work with a lot of musicians as well that are more kind of able to put layers on stuff. I'm still a big proponent of sampling because I like to feel the groove. I think that's us, you know what I mean? I think that represents us well, but I think it's about kind of, getting the sound a lot fuller and not just like, the thing about sampling is that record is gonna sound pretty much how it sounded when it came out because that's your source, but to be able to fill around it and layer it allows it to have a little bit more life as opposed to where everything is kind of centered in the sample,
Is there a sample in any of your songs that you have completely freaked that, now, maybe you can tell us like, yeah, we took that James Brown thing and flipped it. I don't want to have y'all get taxed. Is your lawyer here? But Michael Ashburn is like he's the sampling lawyer, so y'all can talk. Is this something that you like seriously flip? Like you'd be like, man, I didn't know that was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and 93 to Infinity,
I don't know. I sample. I guess the most interesting thing I know I sampled like a Sesame Street record.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. That record never came out. But, yeah. I mean, go ahead.
The backwards bass line on "Didn't Mean To."
Yeah.
It's like that Les McCain song that goes doom. Doom, 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 doom. So it was really popular, and I probably could have, but I turned it around and they didn't have no rights to it going backwards, you know what I'm saying?
Torre, what would you add to that?
The track we did later on for Low Down Dirty Shame, the sample I used, which we cleared, thank you, Michael Ashburn, I didn't find it until it was basically in the middle of the record. Normally you find good things you want to sample or you like in the beginning. So it was one of those moments where I was just listening to the record and like later on I just found it and it hooked me. And it came out to be later on, huh? So that was a good memory. And I think on the producing side, technology is taking over very strong to where you can produce tracks now on your phone. I had a friend of mine, he came in and he told me, he's like, man, you had this Android, you got to get the iPhone. And he has these apps, and I was impressed.
So are you all producing stuff off the phones?
Yes, he actually has me now taking sounds I'm hooking my phone up to a jack, and I'm actually plugging in straight and running right into Pro Tools. So it's a lot of different things you can explore, and you just gotta find what you like.
Wow.
And, you know, stick to what works for you also.
So I could be like Hyro now that I have an iPhone. Is basically what you're saying.
Well, you know,
You got the sweatshirt and the iPhone, you're good. You're good.
A plus, you know, you mentioned, you know, that 93 to Infinity find. Many people may not have seen the documentary. So briefly, how did that come about? Where'd you get that from?
The sample or the song concept?
Both. Let's get the sample.
The
I wanna use it.
the sample is from Billy Cobham. It's an album called Crosswinds and the song called Heather. Billy Cobham is, of course, an accomplished drummer from before our time. This album, I happened to find it in the dollar bin at Amoeba, and it wasn't. And although he has quite a few albums that would, in vintage form or even a little worn, would be worth a lot of money, for his career, this album wasn't a huge success, and so it wasn't. I guess it wasn't valued enough to be anywhere but the dollar bin. And actually, I would look at other hip hop albums and see who produced what songs and who sampled them. And there was a Gangstar album, all produced by Premier. It's their second album, Step in the Arena, excuse me. And I looked at everything that he cleared that he sampled, and I saw that he sampled this album. So I said whenever I saw it, I was gonna buy it and see what else was on it. And I bought it, and I played it when I got home, and it had the 93 Till sample on it, the song Heather. And I just couldn't believe nobody had sampled it, especially Premier, who had already used something for this album. I was like, oh my goodness.
What did Premier say? What did Premier say to you when you saw him? Did he say, "Damn, we missed that"?
Nah. But I've told the story before, so I know he's aware of this. But yeah. So yeah, I just kind of was just looking at what other people sampled to find that. As far as the concept for the song 93 Till Infinity, it was originally a song called 91 Till Infinity that we were. That I came up with the idea and I wrote a verse to it. And this is when we still went to separate high schools, but we still were all a crew and stuff. And I was going to Castlemont for some reason. I was writing it in class, and I came home after school. I would meet up with Tajay and Opio and Fest after school. And I was like, yo, I got this dope concept for the song. I spit this, I already had a beat for it, and I had the rap for it, and it kind of just didn't go anywhere. So when I made the beat for 93 Till, we just rehashed the concept and was like, let's take 91 Till and call it 93 Till. And the original beat was more of a somber, like, we're friends forever type beat. And yeah, you know, whatever. And then the newer beat was more up tempo and we party and kick it. So we kind of changed the vibe. And
how do you all feel that so many people have sampled and resampled that song? Like, I just saw Tajay the other day. I was telling him, like, there's like crazy remixes. There's a Blondie mix of it. There's people doing the song. How do you all feel about that? Do y'all get paid from that? The
only person who paid us was Rick Ross, of all people, you know, like, that used it. So shout out to Rick Ross. You know, that's kind of not like the common mixture, but out of all these cats that have used it and made successful mixtape songs and videos and all that, Rick Ross is the only one who actually paid us some money and came at us correctly. But that being said, I'm stoked that anybody who uses it. Remember, we're just fans and stuff. You can't foresee when you're a 17, 18-year-old kid that you'll have a song out that people are gonna redo over 20 times, and 20-odd years later, people will still jam when the song comes on, and it'll still get spin. And you know, if you walk around, if you're from Frisco, you could go to any bar at happy hour that's playing hip hop, and it's gonna come on. So
yeah,
you know, that's kind of payment for it, for all the times we're not getting paid for it.
Right.
You know?
Let me ask you all this: so many groups have bands. Public Enemy, they have a band. You know, the Boots and the Cool go out with a band. With the Hyro Band.
Hyro Band is on the way. We did a experience with that, a few elements, Souls of Mischief, Hyro Day, about 2 years ago with the crew. So we're gonna explore different elements of the nature of doing some live instrumentation. Myself, I'm a drummer, so I appreciate bringing live instrumentation to the show. It's something that you will see eventually from different individuals, such as Dale. He does it. Me and Cash have explored it with the Hierophant project, and Infinity Players, and so on and so on.
Parliament was here last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Salute Parliament. That's what it would look like with us on stage with a band. I mean, we already have like what,
About
12
20,
rappers and
right.
5 DJs. So if you add a couple bass players, keyboard players, some horn guys, be about 34 guys on
Funk.
stage.
I like the Hyro Funk thing.
I personally ain't really too interested in that. I know we a big group and we got a lot of big opinions, but I'm like, this Hyro right here, we ain't really got to add nothing to it. You know what I'm saying? We can, of course, and it's always good. I would prefer to get with an established band and be rocking with them. You know what I mean? Instead of just putting some guys in between us. Like Hyro do a tour with an established band.
How about Hyro and Earth, Wind, and Fire?
You know what I'm saying? Now there you go right there. That'll be off the hook.
You know, the last thing I want to ask, and we'll open it up, and I think this is really important, is not just your longevity, but what I've always been impressed with Hyro is your business acumen. We always talk about this when we do interviews. You know, your merchandise, the fact that you own your own studio, own your masters, all that sort of stuff is part of a hallmark of the Bay when you look at E40 and others, but you guys have really flipped that, and I think that's an important aspect that's often understated. Talk about Hyro, the business, you know, the businessmen that are sitting at this table that are able to really make things happen in a way that I think has bypassed a lot of artists.
I mean, I think the main thing is, you know, everybody at this table, from my opinion, is a forward-thinking individual. And so when it comes to lyrics or whatever, like, it shows in the music, but also in other avenues and other things that we're trying to do. I think a lot of it also comes from the standpoint that we started out in a certain position, which was signed to a record label and having some success, but then ultimately getting dropped and really, quote unquote, having nothing to show for it. And I think that was kind of a learning experience for me at the time when I was managing everybody. It was just like, okay, we have a lot of props, but what do we have? And so moving forward, the directive was to say, okay, why don't we come together as a crew and do something, and then we'll have more control over of how our records release and ownership. And I think that the example of being on the major labels and kind of not having a great experience kind of set us up to kind of do something different as we move forward. And I think initially the goal was for us to put out a Hyro record and everyone would get signed off of whatever we could establish on our own. But then we realized that this was the way to do it. And a story that I always tell is we wanted to put out a best of Hyro release, right? And we were gonna have a lot of our newer stuff that we had independently, but we were also contacting Jive and Elektra to kind of get the classic songs that we had on the major label. And when we called Elektra, they refused to let us, Dell, use the songs that he had made on his own. And that says everything.
Wait, so these records weren't released, but because he did it, they wouldn't let him use it?
Well, Elektra Records owned the masters to his first 2 records. Now, we wanted to put some of the records on a Best of Hyro, and they said no. And I'm like, this is his blood, this is his music. This is the music that he put out, and he sweated through, and they could just as that quickly tell us no about our own music. And then, as Tajay just said, and then months later, they put out their own Best of Del the Funky Homo Sapien. You know, basically stole the whole concept. But what that really encompassed to me was that you have to control your art. You know, and I think that just kind of solidified the direction that we were taking, that, you know what, we don't want to be on the major labels no matter what, because we're getting more and we control our music. We get to dictate how it's marketed, and we know us better than anyone else. And I think that's probably a lot of the reasons why that was so much of a focus.
Right, Tajay.
Chuck D just said, if you don't own the master owns you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's the realest that it can be put, you know? And I'll just say we've been fortunate also that we've been together. Like we've had excellent tutelage from Michael Ashburn here, who got us to keep our publishing in the first record, and also we got a rotating CEO, rotating sort of council where we all are sharing the responsibilities and duties.
Wait, you all have a rotating CEO?
Yeah, Domino's been CEO, I've been CEO, Casual's the current CEO, you know, and this is something where every human being has blind spots, and I see how each one of us has sort of gained and grown from the knowledge and information that the person who was the previous, or the people who were the previous have. So our vector has always been upward, you know, every step is, very few side steps, it's always been an upward vector. I mean, we're working on stuff, I don't know, can I talk about, I mean, we're working on a cryptocurrency, we're working on a bunch of stuff, you know, like we're trying to get clubs and you know, bars and pizzerias, you know, different things. Yeah, we've got a piece, you mentioned Earth, Wind, and Fire, we have a sort of Earth, Wind, and Fire inspired piece, G. Clay, that we circulate out here.
And but above and beyond that is like, I like the fact that you had subsidiary labels, so a lot of Bay Area artists owe a lot to you all because you all were putting them out on the Clear label, which I think is important. And you're an architect. A lot of people don't know this brother. You know, he could design a Stern Grove. So you all have these other side things that you all are doing as well.
Yeah, I think that's because we couldn't have done that on a major either. Because we're independent, we have the freedom to put out individual records. You know, Dell's got stuff. You know, dubstep records. Plus has full electronica records that would be seen as a departure from Hyro or them stepping away. And really honestly, since we have these other avenues and we have these other entities through which we can release things, it's not seen as, it jives well with what we're doing. It dovetails instead of it being a clash. And I don't think on a major you could do that. You'd have to go get another deal, or you'd have to wear a mask or something like that.
Yeah.
We were fortunate we don't have to do any of that. So.
First of all, let's give it up for these brothers for doing what they do. I know a couple of y'all got some questions, so why don't we do this? Why don't we have a couple of people ask questions, and then they can field them at once. So who has a question for them? Go ahead.
So someone's starting out in the industry, and you know they're low on money, they have so much creativity. What would you advise them to do?
All right, hold that. Starting off in the industry, who else has a question? Go ahead.
Question's for Dell. What's your favorite skateboard trick?
Okay, skateboard trick and one other one, and then we'll let them get those three. Go ahead.
Like Imperium as a label, like in 2004, 2005, it seemed like you guys were putting on artists like Encore, OC, and Z-Man. Are you guys still trying to do that as a label, or I don't really see that now? Is that something you guys are...
Okay, so we have, starting off in the industry with no money, skateboard tricks by Dell. You know, and are you better at the I'm going to add, are you better at the skateboarding than Lupe Fiasco? We'll just, bonus question. And, and then the last one is, you know, yeah, the Hyro Imperium. Go ahead. You go ahead, Dell.
I'll answer the skateboard question real quick. I can do that real quick. My favorite trick, probably a manual that I can do, you know what I'm saying? That's what made me want to start skating. Watching.
What the hell is an manual? What's that?
A manual.
It's a wheelie. It's a wheelie.
Wheelie. Okay. I don't know.
Skateboard wheelie.
I drive cars.
Skateboard wheelie. So imagine riding on your back 2 tires.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, if your car can do that, you know. I'm kind of skate better than Lupe Fiasco. I don't know about that, but I'm proficient at skating, just skating. I'm not trying to be no pro skater or nothing.
Okay. Starting off with no money?
I mean, I don't know nobody who started off with money. I mean, somebody did, but not around here. And so
Trump.
You really just don't. Yeah, I never was focused on money when I was honing my skills. We got our record deals coming out of high school, or not even out of high school. So we was on like $20 a week budgets. And so if you could find, and I mean, nowadays you can have a whole studio in your house for almost under $500. You can get the apps exactly, get everything. You just need a microphone that's kind of clear, and you can get it mixed someplace else. So focus on your skill, and the money ain't what you need to be focused on so early, I would say.
Let me ask you this, Casual, just just to dovetail off that, if I'm starting off, should I, and I don't have a lot of money, but I can go to a library and write, should I write as many songs as possible? Or if I'm a beat maker, should I get a category of beats so that the day I do make it, then I have a bunch of assets?
I would say so. That's how we did it. We would make tons of demos and we called them demos back then. I think that's a dead thing now, but we would make exactly demos, and then you would take songs off demos to make a new demo, you know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I would say that having a catalog, no matter how early you start it, is a good thing, you know what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
It's good for that, but also you need to just be doing stuff all the time just to practice. Because the more you practice, you're going to get better at it, you know what I mean? And the better you get, pretty much you'll get to the point where it's undeniable what you got. You know what I mean? Because you'll be so good after all the practice. So I wouldn't even be thinking of making no catalog. If you like doing that, then just do it for the practice of it, just to get better.
Okay, and then he was asking about the Z-Man and all those labels, and I want to get signed. Can I get signed to y'all?
I think getting signed is old thinking. That's old paradigm thinking. There's no point in getting signed anymore. You can put your using TuneCore or any of these things. You can put your music out tomorrow on the same iTunes as before. Before there was this sort of barrier of old mobsters, basically that signed you and deemed your music worthy to be spread out to the rest of the world. Now, you have music, it's in proper format, and you have a cover, you can put it on iTunes, which is probably the #1 music retailer. I haven't been in a record store. I don't even know where are record stores. You know what I mean, though? So that's an old paradigm. Also, with all those records, I mean, if you look back at the catalog, they're all dope. We didn't make no money from none of them records, man. So what's the point in concentrating on building another person's career when we have our own careers to worry about? We might as well concentrate our efforts on this and build from there. And I mean, help, of course, help and teach, but now I don't see the utility in spending a lot. After spending, my kids' college money and, my retirement and all this, trying to blow up other artists who did blow up, I didn't make any money back, so it really, from a real business and grown man standpoint, it's a hobby to put out other people, kind of. We don't have the machine, I think, that'll blow somebody up to a level of, we like to put out a G-Eazy. I don't think we could do that. Even, you know what I mean? I see he's blown up, but I don't think that we could blow a G-Eazy up. Whereas I think a larger apparatus and someone who's more industry-based, we're kind of outliers in this industry. We always have been. So it costs a lot of money just to get one play on one radio station anywhere. There's still, from a radio perspective, you got to pay these. They're called, what are they called? Radio promotion companies or something? They're called crooks, I think that's what they're called. And you got to pay.
I'll say to somebody in radio, they like $1 million for a top 10.
For a top 10?
Yeah.
$1 million. How many homes can I purchase with? I could probably purchase 10 homes just putting 100 stacks down.
Not in the Bay Area,
in the Bay.
you can't.
In the Bay. No, I'm not saying with $1 million. I'm saying putting $100,000 down on 10 homes in deep East Oakland, where I'm not scared to be. You feel what I'm saying? Though I can get 10 homes for the price of a hit. Who cares about a hit?
That's real too. Hey, just thinking, because one of my favorite projects out of all the things is the Deltron project, and I thought I saw Danny Automated, but how come these things aren't like soundtracks for movies, or has your stuff been soundtracks for movies?
Actually, Del and Dan Deltron just did a song that's on the new movie Money Monster. That's like
I didn't see that
it's
one
like
yet.
which is like George Clooney movie. So it has been. I mean, Dan does a lot of scoring, but yeah.
Well, folks, this is a legendary crew. Get a picture of them, because, like I said, you don't always get a chance to see them in one space. But also, as we close, appreciate this is legendary group. This is 20 years from now. You'll look back and be like, yo, I was here at Stern Grove. We lived in the Bay where this group really made a big difference. I think it's been understated, but show the love for them because they really put in the work.
You know what? I would like to say thank you for the love, but it's really about the people that have supported us for 20 odd years. You know what I mean? It's the fans, and you guys make it possible for us to be here and be meaningful. And so one love to all y'all, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Hi, Rodé.
September 5th this year. It's on Labor Day, right? Come through. Oakland, California, 30 acts. Come kick it.
Hiero Day.